Good afternoon to our respected Chairman, Sir, Director, Sir, Principal, Ma'am, Headmaster, Sir, and all my dear colleagues. We have organized this webinar today to dispel the myth that humanities is a stream for the students who are not supposed to be smart enough. But why can't we consider science, commerce, and humanities on an even plane? Why only engineering or medicine? Just because they are the most conventional options before the Indian parents, or to avoid the constant questioning of those inquisitive relatives. An average Indian parent's idea pivots around the fact that science stream majors earn much more than majoring in humanities. But everything cannot be measured in terms of money. Can the dream of a secure financial future compensate for broken dreams and a world without innovation? The young adults of this generation are often forced to abandon their dreams. The time-consuming, monotonous, and mechanical workload of the subjects disliked by them, which they are forced to study by their parents or relatives, annihilate the creativity of the students and leads to an increase in stress and anxiety. It is to be remembered that the skills provided by humanities are essential for the progress of mankind into the next era. To ponder on this, was it the technical knowledge of Leonardo da Vinci which helped him make discoveries in anatomy, geology, and optics? Or was it his ingenuity and creativity that sparked his discoveries? Although there has been a paradigm shift, and yes, some students are taking up careers in law, archaeology, journalism, research work after studying history and political science in the humanities stream. Still, there are many people who are unaware of the career opportunities that they could avail in the field of humanities. Today, our young panelists will enlighten you all in this regard. Students are requested to send their queries to the panelists on the WhatsApp number 8240234206. I repeat, 8240234206. Our first panelist will be leaving us early, so students, you can send your queries during the course of discussion. Our first speaker does not need any introduction to many of my colleagues. He is still remembered as an active MAN participant, an excellent orator, and a very humble person too. Yes, I'm speaking about Prathit Singh, alumni of MCKV ICSC 2018 batch. Presently, he is pursuing graduation in political science at Ramjas College, University of Delhi. What is more interesting is that at this age, he is a child rights activist and a youth advisor to COVID under-19 initiative. He is also an active voice on violence against children at a global level under various UN development programs. He has worked closely with veteran policymakers, including former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Kiran Bedi, and has handled many such responsibilities on his young shoulder. The audience is sure to get motivated by him. So Prathit, let's hear it from you now. Over to Prathit.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that generous introduction. introduction, and hello to everyone here, especially to the teachers who, I'm so thrilled to be amongst, and especially at a platform like this, where, as much as I wish that, it was not virtual and in person, but the realities of time. But I'm so thrilled to be here among teachers and mentors who have mentored me consistently and still continue to, some of them, and inspired me. And, whatever that, whatever has been of me is because of the platform of building. But, it is interesting to, hear the topic today, which is, it talks on several fronts, as Ma'am was introducing. We'll talk about the stigma of social science. We'll talk about, the uneven plane of social science. We'll talk about the earning prospect of social science. And it's really interesting how all these factors are interrelated. And when it comes to career choices, it often confuses, children, when they go ahead and take up career choices. But I'll share my experience too here that, I'm a student of political science. And I generally take up as my introduction that whenever someone asks me, what do you do? I say, I'm a student of political science at Ramjas College, University of Delhi. And the immediate next question is like, you're a student of political science, so you want to be a prime minister. I say, no, that's not political science is all about. Political science is not about doing politics. It's about studying politics. And this is how most of the subjects in social science, most of the aspects of social science have been confused. And it is out of this confusion that we see a lot of people have been deterred from taking social science. A lot of people don't want to take subjects of, humanities and social science just because we think that it's something lower to science. It's something which is not worth taking. It has no study. And literally, when I say this among people that I'm a student of social science, they think that I have nothing to study, that I just roam around all day, and that, I have no work apart from, just surfing through a few books, that's it. But that's actually not the reality. And I like to tell you what essentially and the essence of social science as a whole is. And when I talk about social science, the umbrella of social science, I'm talking about history, I'm talking about politics, I'm talking about economics, I'm talking about sociology, and I'm talking of the whole umbrella of subjects, which we characterize by stigma and which we characterize by something which is below the physical science which we study. But that's not actually the case. So let me give you a gist of what social science actually means. And you'll be bound to think, I hope you'll be bound to think against what your perceptions are currently when it comes to looking at social science. Social science, in a sense, is nothing but just a study of our relationships, the relationships which surround us. If I have to tell you that, suppose you have to identify a person who's an Indian, how do you characterize someone who's an Indian? Firstly, you take his history, that a person who's Indian has so-and-so history. He has 200 years of colonization. Before that, 200 years of a rich history of diversity. Then I ask you, who's an Indian? You also characterize him or her by the society he or she lives in, the social norms that govern us. We have a diverse society which is constituted of all the religions. We have a society which is democratic in nature. We also characterize the Indian subcontinent by a rich economy. We say it has so much to contribute to the world. It makes most of the world markets. And at the same time, we also characterize an Indian by the politics that he comes from. We characterize it from the regime that the person who's an Indian has a voting right in a country that he enjoys so much. So that is the characteristic of you. That is the characteristics of you as an Indian. And that is essentially every nature of your identity is linked to aspects of social science. When I define you, I have to define you by your history, by the society that you live in, by the laws that govern you, by how much you contribute economically to the society. That is what your definition is. And so what I consider it is that social science at large is nothing but a definition of what your identity is, what your social relation is, and what is all around you. Now, the mistake that we do with social science and its perception is that we consider it as something, since we cannot, have it a very consolidated forms. For instance, in subject like physics, we have laws of physics. In mathematics, we have formulas of mathematics. But in social science, you don't have any laws as such. You have parameters. You have distinct focuses and views through which you try to analyze the world around you. We don't have to analyze molecules as we do in science, in chemistry, or we don't have to analyze how energy passes on from one body to another. Here, our basic unit of analysis is man itself, a person's nature, human social relations. That is the very definition of social science. And that constitutes the essence of the study of social science. It is stigmatized a lot, and I don't blame it why it is stigmatized, because if you see, and let me also tell you that the idea of stigmatizing the whole idea of social science is not a very Indian characteristic, because if you look at it, India has had, and the history teachers here would agree, that India has had a respect for the aspects of social science for hundreds and hundreds of years. We had universities as old as Nalanda teaching aspects like history, geography, and political science. In fact, most of our epics, the Arthashastra, is essentially on how governance is done, how public policies are made, and how economies are run. The idea of stigmatization of social science comes from the West, because when social science originally came out in the West, when people said that, no, we actually want to study the history of humanity, the history and the political system of humanity, it is then that, it was stigmatized in the West. They said that, no, there is no world beyond science. And as a classical Indian parent says, that there's no earning in science, there's no world beyond science, and, you don't have to study anything beyond science. That is a very westernized concept in its origin. Now, of course, we have come to a time where we cannot ignore social science, because it is something that makes you and me. If I ask you, as I said, that what is your identity, you have to fall back on social science. And so one of the messages which I'd like to give everyone here is that in fact, that even if you do not go ahead and pursue social science as a subject in general, you must have at least a basic idea of domains of social science, simply because that's what makes you who you are. Your history makes you who you are. Your society makes you who you are. And so you must have at least a basic knowledge of what your history is, what your sociology is, and what your political system is, which is so important to everything that you do. You and I are talking here on a relational basis. What is this relation which is established between you and me? What is the dynamics of power that me as an undergraduate student is talking to students of class 8 and 9 and 10? What is the dynamics of power which is established between you and me, that I'm speaking and you are listening? These are aspects which, you only come to understand, and it's a whole new world which opens up when you take aspects like social science. And it can only come up when you have an open and broad mind. When you look at the world with, not a very narrow view that, okay, there's nothing beyond, physics and chemistry and biology, there's nothing beyond matter, and there's nothing beyond the idea of a person. It is then that we are constraining our views. And it is important, especially in today's world where we have so much of academic rising for social science, that not to constrain our views in favor of science itself. Because again, remember that science deals with physical world, what we can see, what we can analyze, what we can empirically examine. Empirically, in the sense we can see the proof, it is included in science. That is essentially what science is. And that is why when one of the earliest social scientists, if I was to simplify it for everyone, the earliest social scientist, Immanuel Kant, when he came up with his first theory of social science, it was not called physics. It was called metaphysics, which is something beyond physics. Because social science, at the end of the day, is beyond everything that exists around you and me. It's beyond the reality of the world, which is seen. It is unseen. You cannot see the relationship between you and the state. Yet there is a very important relationship between you and the state. The state is a duty bearer and you are a right holder. You hold a few rights against the state and you have a right to claim those rights. But that relationship is something you cannot see. But is it that something you cannot see, that's something there isn't? Science would perhaps say that, if you cannot see something and if you cannot, empirically examine something, that isn't. But in social science, you cannot validate existences. You cannot invalidate social relationships. You cannot invalidate aspects like, laws that govern you and me. And that is is the sense of study of social science when we come to it. Now, I hope I've been able to explain to you in the first place and what it means, because the root of stigma that exists in the Indian society today about the whole aspect of social science is because they do not know what it is. I began by the comment which I often hear is that when I say I'm a political science student, people assume that I want to enter politics, that I want to contest for prime ministership of this country. But it is not the case. I just want to study politics and not do politics, which means essentially that I want to examine the relationships which exist around me in a political way. And essentially, the laboratory of social science, and which brings me to my next point of keeping a broad view, is that the laboratory of social science is not confined within classroom walls. Even if you're physically confined within classroom walls, you must never be confined within your classroom walls mentally, because it is the essence of social science that is outside the world. In fact, I'll share with everyone here something which my professor of political science said something in my first class, that your laboratory is the world. You have to see the world. You have to keep your eyes open towards the world to know what is going on and then understand aspects of social science. Today, again, the stigma for social science comes from the factor because we fail to see the world. We think that within the classroom walls is our world, which we'll create, but it is not so. In fact, my understanding of social science came when I stepped out of my classroom. I tried to think around the world of what is going on. And I like to, do an experiment with you too. In social science, one of the main aspects that we examine is perhaps idea of justice, right? Justice is a very abstract concept. I hope everyone's familiar with you, as you should be. Justice is a concept which social science is forever ridden with: historic justice, political justice, etc. But I don't need to walk into the laboratory or be in the classroom to understand justice. I just need to go into my family and see who's inheriting, and I'm talking larger terms here. In most of the human cycle, I just need to go and sit in my family and see that if I am siblings with my sister, see who's inheriting a larger share of property, or who's inheriting property at all. In most of the cases and in most of the society, it is still the boy who's inheriting the society and going ahead, and not the girl. Is this the justice that we are fighting for? Now, I didn't need to step out of anywhere. In fact, I didn't even need to walk. I was just there in my family and I could notice it. And this is the value of social science, that you do not need to step into any library. You do not need to step out, out of anywhere. You just need to see the world. Because as I said, it's there around us and it defines us. It defines us as people. It defines us as personalities. And that is what social science is all about. It governs us. It gives us an identity. It governs our relation, and it governs every aspect of our lives. You and I, take in the language which I'm speaking to you in. I'm speaking to you in English. Why am I speaking to you in English? Because you and I want to create an identity around a language called English. And that is why we are speaking in that terms. This is, again, an aspect of social science, because language determines what our identity is. And if I'm speaking in English and you're comprehending it, then that means that English is a part of our identity. And you see, where do you locate it when you speak a language like English? You locate yourself in some parts of Europe. And see how this is, it's interesting how, identities are governed by aspects of social science. It's interesting how relations are governed by aspects of social science. And now let me come up to, the idea that, it is stigmatized. Yes, it is a lot stigmatized in a country like India. I personally had to face so many challenges when I came up with the idea that I love political science and I need to study political science. Almost, for the moment, it seemed that the half the world was against the idea of taking political science as a subject. I was scared to an extent where I had thought at a moment that if I take a subject in social science, the sky would fall or something. But it was not so. And because the fact that, I realized at an earlier stage that this is something that I want to do. My identity is something that I want to deconstruct. And the idea of my social relationships is something that I want to study. And if you feel that you need to study your social relationships, and most importantly, you need to know who you are, then perhaps you must definitely consider studying aspects of social science and knowing aspects of social science, because it is only through then that you can identify yourself, you can identify your social relations, you can identify, the world at large. And I personally feel that, with a cursory knowledge of social science, it is only with a proper knowledge of social science that you can identify the world you and I live in, without which we are nothing. If you and I do not know the world we are living in, if you and I do not know, our identities, then perhaps there's a need to rethink on what kind of, idea of education that we are pursuing. But again, I'm not, asking everyone to definitely go for social science and its aspect. But what I'm definitely asking you to do is that at least have a cursory, a basic knowledge of aspects of social science, which includes, a variety of subjects. Which brings me to, my next, idea, which is, as ma'am said, that why do we see aspects of social science in uneven plane? And as I had already said, that, it is a very Western concept in seeing social science in uneven plane as something lower than science. But also remember that, aspects of social science always govern science. Remember that Galileo came out with perhaps the biggest discovery of the earth is round, and discovering the telescope, but the polity of the country didn't allow him to live, and the king decided to behead him. So remember that we live in a very intricated world, and it is never that, social science is lower than social science, or humanities is above social science. We live in a very intricated world where, our subjects are almost, coming closer and closer as day in and day out we move in, and especially, our daily subjects. And I'm again and again stressing on social science because, it has almost come to one concrete subject. If I pick up the study of history, I cannot study it without studying political science, historical economy, and a lot of other subjects which are intricated in it. And so we are moving also towards a world where science and aspects of, commerce are very much linked to aspects of humanities. We see that, if we look at, for instance, take an industry, a factory, which we consider a very much a commercial unit. It's totally dealing with commerce, it's totally dealing with economy. And so an industry is something which is dealing with commerce. But who owns that industry? If we look at this question, then this question is inherently dealing with humanities. Because if we know that the state owns that industry, then perhaps we characterize the polity as a socialist polity. But if we see that this industry is being owned by a private individual, then we know that we characterize it as a capitalist or perhaps a private ownership, which means a lot in politics when it comes to a political economy. So this is how we are moving towards a world which is quite intricated, which is where we cannot exactly distinguish that this is a notion of science and this is a notion of social science. We cannot distinguish it. In fact, in my own subject, political science, there's a whole lot of maths involved. And, if we sit down with empirical analysis of political aspect, then we have to get involved with ourselves in statistics and, formulas and whatnot. In subjects like philosophy, it's the same. There's a lot of, mathematical analysis, statistical analysis, which is required. And so you cannot really distinguish today from, aspects of humanities and science today. We live in a very intricated world. In fact, I have known people, and these people are, some of them are teaching at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, who started out by taking engineering and at the end realized that that's worth nothing and took up fields like international relations. And today the professors of international relations in institutes like MIT. And so it's very important to realize that what you're studying is essentially should be to your liking, and not think of social science as something which is uneven to physical science or something which does not stand at par with physical science. So that realizing that is very important. And that brings me to my next point, which was raised, which was regarding earning. And as ma'am said, that everything doesn't have to be to earn, and everything doesn't necessarily need to be governed by financial consideration. It is obviously studying what you love. But again, let me also come to the point of how rapidly we have been seeing the rise of social science throughout the world. Today, we cannot imagine a university which is, totally excluded of even IITs today have social science division. My mentor, Dr. Kiran Bedi, did her PhD in social science from an IIT. And so that is where we see, the rising influence of social science, where even the Indian Institute of Technology has a social science division, which is giving out PhDs in social science. So that is the importance with which it has risen today. Almost every institute today has, aspects of social science, and almost every field has necessity of social science students. Perhaps, in research, in management, in you consider any field, there is an inherent necessity of social science, because, as I said, that no institution can imagine to run itself without someone who's there to understand human relations. In corporates, we have human resource managers who essentially study the psychological aspects, who essentially study the human relations aspect, which again is out of science, which is very much related to social science. And so nothing can imagine itself to run on solely on the basis of science, or solely on the basis of something which is not beyond science. We have to enter the scientific domain to understand the world around us, because without that scientific domain, the world around us makes no sense. And to make sense out of the world, we need a basis which is related to society. We need a basis which is understanding of society. And let me now bring you to the latest example which I want to present you. We are all in a global pandemic. We are seeing this virtual platform running. And the most important aspect we have today is that, vaccines, because when the pandemic came, everyone was rushing after the scientists that where are the vaccines? Where are the vaccines? Everyone thought that, this is perhaps the greatest consideration of science, that, vaccines are the most important. But look at it. We focus so much on science, on the construction of or say generation of vaccines, that we forgot the aspect of social science, that these vaccines have to be distributed equally throughout the world. And that is why you and I sitting today in India, which was so privileged in terms of manufacturing and getting its vaccines, which still had its resources, but a country like Africa and 1,000 young people and children are there who still haven't got their vaccines. Why? Because they live in a world where which is unequal, where science does not consider ethics of equality and justice, which are essentially questions of social science. So you can imagine how essential it is to include questions of social science in every domain. Even if you are making something like vaccines, you have to include questions of vaccine equity, that these vaccines are equitably distributed throughout the world. You have to, include questions like justice, that, justice is done to the poor people who cannot acquire these vaccines, and you make them free for them. So these are questions which you cannot escape. And I've been repeatedly saying this, that social science is something you cannot escape, because it's literally all around you and it governs you. And that brings me to a fantastic quote that I heard from former Prime Minister of Britain, Right Honourable Gordon Brown, who was on my panel a few days ago. He said that our collective failure, and he was talking about the current world which we are living in, he said that our collective failure to convert our scientific progress in gaining vaccines into a global public good is such a moral catastrophe that if the world was a state, we might well off call it a failed state. Now, this is the condition where, we are so obsessed with science, we are so obsessed with the ideas of science, that we forget questions of morality, we forget questions of justice, we forget questions of equality. And that is why most of the discrepancy comes in the world today. In fact, I feel that had science been there, had social science been there, we wouldn't be facing the problems, so many problems that we face in the modern world. Look at, the inequality that women face in today's world. Science did not look at it. In fact, the disproportionality came from science, because there were so many scientists who were men, and they essentially sabotaged and prevented women into getting into power positions. Science did not look at the questions. When social science did, it was too late. The gap was already so wide that it was impossible to cover it. And most of the inequalities that we have today is because we were late in picking up social science. And I still believe that there are a lot of domain for social science to progress, and a lot lot of aspects for social science to cover. And until social scientists, young social scientists like you and me, who are interested in studying social relations, until you and I come up with an interest in solving these problems, an interest in stepping out of the classroom walls, nothing will be possible. So I'll conclude by saying that you have to ultimately make a choice. Now the choice is yours, whether you choose to stay governed by the physical world, or you enter the social world, which involves so much that concerns you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Prathit, we are really happy that you have discussed about the interdisciplinary approach to the social science. Indeed, it is one of the most exciting concept of the NEP 2020. And PM Modi, while addressing the students during the Smart India Hackathon, rightly said, one size does not fit all, one subject does not define who you are. We all, as you have spoken about Galileo, that he had to face various consequences due to the political situation of that era. In the light of this, my question to you is, how exactly can a student pursuing his or her career in social science be influenced by the history of our country or by its prevailing political situation?
That's I think a very interesting question, ma'am. And I must add what I had said at a point in my in my presentation, that it is important to for students to have an open mind from now, because since the very beginning, and I don't really blame the students, because that's how they've been fed. Every family today talks about taking science or commerce and then going and doing some prestigious degree, which is out there, and which gives you an easy access to earning and resources. But what students are fed with today, it is important to keep an open mind about it. It is important to have an open mind that, okay, fine, political science is a subject which studies such interesting concept. History is a subject which studies our historical identity, and say psychology is a subject which studies our essentially the aspects of human mind which biology ignores. So it is important to keep an open mind about everything, number one, especially when it comes to thinking about subjects. And and secondly, as I said, that the biggest involvement that one can have and the biggest exposure that one can have to aspects of social science is by stepping out of the classroom walls. For me, that came when in class 11 I decided that enough of having bookish exploration, it's time for me to step out. And then that's where I actually started my and that's how I crafted my identity of being a child rights activist, by stepping out of the classrooms. That governed my interests in terms of studying a subject in social science, because that's how I came to know about the world. That's how I came to explore the ideas of injustice that exists in the world. Because it cannot, I mean, you can read theoretically about it, you can understand its philosophy, but you cannot actually understand social science until you think out of out of your classroom walls, out of those bookish walls. And it is very important to observe in social science what goes around you. And so it's important to look outside. It's important to just raise your eyes and see what's going around. And as I gave the family example, that it's just there before you. You just need some eyes to see it. And I believe that having an open mind solves half the problem, because then you eventually begin to think on what are the prospects you can pursue. And once you have an open mind about taking a subject or exploring a subject, you automatically lean towards going towards prospects of that subject and how to generate your the question which more concerns the Indian societies today is that how to generate an income in that subject. And that's eventually how you develop it, by keeping an open mind and by exploring avenues outside your books, outside your theoretical assumptions.
Yeah, absolutely on point, Prathit. While I was introducing you, I'm sure our students were in awe of your connection in the international field, especially with the United Nations organization. What are your tips and advice for the youngsters to follow this path and achieve their dreams of working in the international forum?
So I think that being at an international forum is, when I talk about my own work in child rights and rights of young people, in fact, it is a whole domain which goes around exploration of what comes outside your books and what comes outside your classroom, because in your classroom you learn what injustice is, you learn what inequality is, and you learn what violation of rights is. But it is actually when you step out of the classrooms and look with the organizations which are working in this, that that you come to realize it. My own story began when I decided that enough of this books. I decided to intern with one of these organizations working in Calcutta, which is International Justice Mission, which was essentially working in violence against children, and stopping that violence through community awareness and youth empowerment setups. So that was the beginning when I decided that I need to step out. That was the beginning for me. And in fact, eventually when you step out and step into opportunities like these, which are less explored by young people and children, in fact, they need young people and children to advocate about such topics like rights of young people and children. In fact, just yesterday I was sitting with the director of the United Nations Development Program, giving my consultation as a young person on the Human Development Report and how human development must be reformed in the post-pandemic world. So I think that the fundamental need is to look outside the classrooms, as I've stressed enough, and beyond looking out of the classrooms, exploring opportunities. What are you passionate about? It is very important for students today to explore what they're passionate about. What they feel strongly about needs to change. And once they feel strongly about it, the change will automatically be pursued. We will automatically push ourselves to pursue the change. For me, that aspect was change. That aspect of change was a world where violence against children is curbed, where children are respected. And that takes me, even if that takes me to a platform like the UN Secretary General's office, that is very acceptable to me, because my passion is for a change where I look for a vision in this world. And once we have a vision in this world, pursuing it won't be a challenge, because there are already so many opportunities for children and young people around us.
Yeah. So students, I'm sure you too will get inspired by this and will be aware of the road to travel to fulfill your aspiration. One more question, Prathit. You have been
I'm interrupting, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm interrupting.
Yes, sir.
Prathit, you were saying that you don't want it to be PM. Okay, political science does not mean that you want to be a politician or anything. But let me tell you today, we've seen you with also vast of knowledge and everything. I'm seeing you as a future Prime Minister of India. As simple as that. And you should think of it to enter into politics. And that will be a role model for each and every student. That why should they take this career?
Okay. Sir, KK sir, director sir, if you have any question to ask, you can always ask.
No question. He have defined everything so simple language.
Yes, absolutely.
Our students should think of this subject in future. We should. And as a teacher, you also should tell your student now to come into this line. The way simply, in the simplest form, he have defined this subject in the simplest form. And all the best to see you as a Prime Minister of this country.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. So getting back to my question, Prathit, you have been a child rights activist and have been the UN Secretary General's Special Representative on Violence Against Children. How did you actually tread on this path? Who were your sources? Who guided you in this field? Please enlighten our students in this regard.
Thank you. And in fact, initially, I tried not to bore everyone with my experiences in child rights activism. But essentially, yes, I currently work with the COVID Under-19 initiative, which is an initiative by the Office of the Secretary General, UN Secretary General's Representative on Violence Against Children, and which is an initiative committed to including voices of children and young people in the post-pandemic recovery and response. And in fact, my journey in this came a long way, and when I look back, I've been a child rights activist and working in this field for 2 years now. But, it started out with me working with a local organization on a very grassroots level in making people and students aware of what child rights exploitation is, what it entails when, a child anywhere is exploited and a child's rights are violated. And when I talk about rights, I essentially must orient you all to, the setup, the international setup, which is the United Nations Conventions on Rights of Child, which governs the rights that every child must hold. And that was essentially my agenda. But when I saw, as I said, that when I stepped out and saw that in my own country and in my own state, so many children and young people are not getting the rights that they deserve, the future that they deserve, that somewhat invigorated me. And that also irritated me, because I realized that, I, coming from privileged background, had that security to have a future which is, which goes ahead, to have a future to sustain myself. But a child who, was not born with that privilege, yet was a child holding all his rights and deserving the future that, it was entitled to, was not given that right, just because there is impunity in the society, just because there's violence in the society, and just because, the society doesn't know how to respect a child's rights. And that was beginning of my, passion for rights of child. And progressing from there, I worked with the International Justice Mission in Calcutta. And then from therein, I was the Government of India's representative to the Asian Children's Summit, which was held in Bangkok, with 40 international delegates and delegates from the SAARC and ASEAN joining in. In fact, something that from around child rights activism, an inspiration was, I have drawn a lot of inspiration from, a lot of instances. And most of it was, from people who have been working in this field, people who have been, passionately working. My own mentor in International Justice Mission, he always used to tell me that, you have not experienced violence because you were, from a secure background and you had a secure future. But a child who has experienced violence, a child who is not getting the future that he or she deserves, getting justice to that child is what matters in this world. And this is something which I resonate with what the director of the SAARC told me about how it is important to secure the right, to attempt to secure the rights of children, and for young people to take the lead in this, because, children, and especially when I say children, young people, I reach out to everyone who's here, because it is our responsibility to make sure that someone who, is in the same society as us, someone who's in the same background as us, is still not getting the future that he or she is entitled to. And so it becomes our responsibility as peers of that society to make sure that justice is served and that, that cause is served. And that is all my advocacy has all, been about. And, that is how, I precisely define my cause and my journey.
Okay. Thank you, Prathit. I hope our students gathered a lot of knowledge from you. Now I would ask Sharmishta ma'am if there are any questions from the audience for Prathit.
Thank you, Shomdata ma'am. Yes, I've got one question from student side. Student's name is Aditya Baheti of 8D. If I want to work for UNO, what qualification do I need to have? Do I need to have any special skill or quality? Prathit, can you please highlight on this point?
Thank you, Aditya, for that question. In fact, that is one question which I often get asked. And, people come up and ask me that, what is required for working with the UN, since you're so involved with the UN process and, with international advocacy. And I always tell them this one thing, one quality, and I don't really think it's a quality, but, one essential factor is that your passion for a cause. Because, when I work with the UN, I work with the UN Secretary General's representative on violence against children. Why? Because I was passionate about, bringing an end to violence against children. And, I'm passionate about youth development. And so I'm currently working with the UNDP office on youth development and UN human development report. So, it is important to be passionate about something. It's never about recognition and, the UN's recognition of your work or, some organizations is recognition of your work. It's never about that. Once you're passionate about, an issue, and that issue be anything, whether it be rights of children and young people, whether it be bringing equality in this world, whether you're concerned with bringing justice to any aspect of this world, and there's so many issues to work around. There are issues of gender rights, there are issues of equality, there are issues of injustice. Once you're passionate about any of the causes, it automatically comes as a jolt to work for it till that cause is attained. And I honestly never went to the UN to tell me what I have done. They already knew, because out of the passion that generated inside me, I already got involved at local level, national level, and international level. In fact, my first involvement with the UN didn't come by a direct me going or applying somewhere. It was an invitation because of my work in child rights and because of my passion in child rights. And that is what is essentially important, to have a passion towards an issue where it does not matter if someone recognizes your work or not. It is important to be passionate about something, and it is important to work towards that cause. And it is once that is attained, be it the UN or be it any world government, which will definitely recognize your efforts.
Thank you, Prathit. That was wonderful to hear from you after a long time. So thanks once again. Over to Somdatta ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much for
Let us welcome Akash Ganguly, alumni of MCKV ISC 2015 and an advocate of High Court at Calcutta. Akash, let us hear from you now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the teachers. So we have 105 participants, including students and teacher both. Okay. I just want to keep this a very candid presentation. I just don't want to go into details. I just don't want to tell and define each and every aspects and branches of social sciences. Okay, I just need a volunteer from class 8. Anyone, just randomly can unmute themselves and just say me hello.
Raise your hand.
Anyone. And I will be happy if someone from the backbench group does it, because I love them. Any other backbenchers, please volunteer. Yes, no one.
Shubhankar Verma, will you help?
That Lakshya has raised his hand.
Okay. Yes, Lakshya. Okay. So Lakshya, you're in class 8 or 9?
I think it says 9B.
Yeah, it's 9B. 9. Okay. Okay, Lakshya, just tell me what you understand by the word humanities. Just don't go for Googling and all. Just say what you understand by the word humanities. I think I lost Lakshya.
Yes, again we mute.
Another Lakshya Agarwal there.
Another Lakshya Agarwal has come.
Okay, another Lakshya. Lakshya Agarwal?
Yes.
Yes. Don't be scared. Just the way you said yes, I got scared. It's a cool interaction, okay, buddy. Just tell me what you understand by the word humanities. Okay, still no. Don't be afraid, Lakshya. Chalo, koi baat nahi. Humanities. So we are here today to discuss the topic.
Hello.
Yes, Lakshya, please. I will happy to hear you.
Yes, can you please repeat the question?
I'm telling, what do you understand by the word humanities?
The word humanities means something about political science and politics.
Okay. Good.
Other one from anybody from the audience, any student.
Anybody. You can just come in and there is no hard and fast rules. Only class 8 and 9. Anybody can from the audience. Just go ahead, hit me.
Please raise your hand.
Suvankar Barma, 8B. Yeah.
Actually, I was saying that there is a lot of background noise in my place. Can you please confirm if you can hear me?
There's a lot of background noise for my place?
Yes. In my place. Can you please confirm?
So how can I help you?
So can you please confirm if you can hear me?
Yes,
You want me to
can
repeat
be
the
heard.
question, right?
No, I'm just asking if I'm audible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're completely audible, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay. So you asked what I understand by humanities.
Yeah.
As far as I know, humanities, the subjects I know in humanities are like history and studies of social science, and it basically involves study of human nature and human society,
Okay, that's good. Good. Go ahead.
rather than the other fields of science and commerce. It's about it's the study of human nature and human society. That's all I understand so far.
Okay, good. And trust me, I subscribe to whatever you have said. The humanity is all about studying human nature. And definitely, human nature is in itself is a very vast concept. And to understand human nature, we have to study certain things. By studying political science, we can understand the political relation between a human being and a state and the administrative department. But how do we study about human beings? There is another branch of humanities that's called philosophy and psychology. Through that, or by means of it, you can always understand the human nature. Whatever you said, and I absolutely subscribe to whatever you have said. Now, just tell me one thing. He's still there, right, Suvankar?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you're still there, right? So just tell me one thing. What do you want to do in life? What do you want to pursue? I mean,
So far, I have not clearly decided what I would choose, but I'm really interested in subjects like history and geography, and that is why I was interested to join this webinar today.
that's great. You're interested. So if you're interested about it, it will be much more easier for me to convince you rather than motivate you. So humanities is one of the most underrated subject or underrated stream in India. As Prathit was saying, that is a Western concept. Yeah, whatever we see in India, even the law, even the customs, a lot of things are all similar to the Western place because we have inherited from the ancestors, that is the Britishers. So now you need to understand one thing. Humanities is just a subject. It's not just a subject. It's completely studying the particular part of the society. It's later you have to study the entire society. When we are studying the entire society, we need to understand the humanities. So today we will just understand how humanities help us, and by that means how we have to break the myth that we should come out and study humanities too. And humanities is not just underrated. It is just like a subject. It's just as good as physics, as good as social, as good as a physical science, and as good as a subject that can help you to be whatever you want to be in life, whatever you want to achieve. Today, I'm a lawyer, but when in my class 2, I have studied commerce because MCKV at that time was not having humanities as a subject. And trust me, when I moved into my college, it was very difficult for me from initial years because my degree is BA LLB. It was very difficult. If I would have opted for humanities in my +2, things would have been much more easier because the first 2 years, there are sociology, there is political science, there is economics, and a lot of things. Economics was though they are part of my commerce, but still, if humanities would have been there in class 11, if I would have opted for humanities, then things would have been much more easier. So humanities is very necessary for all the aspects. Today, public services and everything needs humanities through and out. So the problem is we understand humanities is not, it's a subject for a student who are not good at studies, a student who are not, they're not credible enough to pursue with science. They're not good at any other subject, so they take up humanities. In fact, people also think that people who are not good at anything, they go up and end up taking law as a profession, which is absolutely not. Lawyers, we have to do a lot of things. So to bring clarity to the future, today humanistic knowledge continues to provide the ideal foundation for enough for exploring and understanding the human experience. And that's what I was telling you. Today the society is very dynamic. Society in itself is very dynamic, and society keeps on changing every day. It's not that today whatever we have followed or whatever parameters we have set to determine a society, tomorrow the things will be same. 2 years back, if this would have been a seminar, this would have been hosted in Malay Manch. You would have done some naughtiness sitting behind in the Malay Manch. But now what we are doing, we are just attending it over a virtual medium. So things have changed. See, this is society. Society is a crazy thing. It's changing every day. So to understand the society, what you need to know, you have to understand the core of that, or the soul of it. To understand the soul, you have to study humanities. So as Prathit mentions a lot of things, and he is a very brilliant speaker. So he has covered up everything. I just want to keep it candid. So to make you understand the importance of society or the importance of the subject humanities, I just want to tell you one thing. Scientists, or take it for example, engineers, today manufacture a good. And then they have to, or they should know for whom they are producing that. For example, today, if I produce a car and I don't know what kind of car a person needs, and for that, a particular marketing department is there, and that marketing department surveys the market. And what is the market? The market is society. So the society teaches you, and whether the society feeds you or feeds other subjects, what they will perform and how they will perform. Now let's come to my same things, law. So law is my subject, and I'm much more convenient in speaking about law. So today, if you people want to become a lawyer, what you need to do after finishing your ICSE, you can take humanities. If you take humanities, it will be easier. It is not that only humanities will serve you to become a lawyer. No, you can take up commerce, you can take up science. Later on, you can pursue BCom LLB or BSc LLB or BLLB. If you take BLLB, and if you're planning that you want to take a BA LLB subject, which is Bachelor of Arts and Law degree. So what happens then? It will help you. So if you, after class 10, if you take in class 11 and 12 humanities, it will help you to understand the subject much more better when you go and take law after your plus 2s. After plus 2s, how you can opt for a law school? The first thing that you need to do, you need to sit for a CLAT examination or CLAT entrance examination. There are other entrance examinations. There is a Calcutta University entrance examination. There is a ZAD probably. There is another Symbiosis. So different universities all over the country have their own entrance examination, and you can very well go and sit for that examination. After completing or after getting into that, after cracking the entrance examination, they will, according to the rank, they will place you 5 years course, and for the first 2 years there will be BA. For the last 3 years there will be only law degrees, only law papers rather. So this is what, and after completing law, what you can do. This is the earning aspect of what you can do after completing law. The first thing you can do, you can practice, as I'm doing in High Court. Then you can do, then you can become a corporate lawyer. Then you can become a administrative lawyer, arbitrator, medical ethics lawyer. So these are the new fields of law. And most important, you can become a compliance lawyer. Most of the people after passing law, they get placed in a particular MNC or in various MNCs. So what they do, they just go there. At that particular MNC works for a particular genre in a particular genre. So that particular genre, they have different laws. And trust me, everything in the society that you see from your birth to death is binded by a law, or it's under a law. And that law has to be crafted in a manner which is not against the rights. So I will talk about it also. So today, these are the field that you can go ahead and become. After becoming a lawyer, these are the various branches that you can get into and do your job. And later on, you can succeed anyway. And most importantly, whatever you do, you just have the passion and the love for doing it. Now, I was talking about how history and civics in school life, how in class 8, 9, 10, you have history and civics most probably. So history and civics helps a lot to understand the constitution. Because if you directly get into, for today, if you don't have any knowledge about civics and you don't have any knowledge about constitution, tomorrow you get into a law school, every other words will be very different to here. But now, if you have studied civics in school, so you have a rough idea about what is fundamental rights, what is fundamental duties, and what are the directive principles, what are REIT, what are the 5 reads that are there, like Prathit was talking about rights. When your rights are being violated or being infringed by the state, what are the ways to get your rights back? What are the ways you can get back your rights? The way by which we can get back our rights is the 5 reads: writ of mandamus, writ of certiorari, writ of pro habeas corpus, writ of querento. So these are the different writs that we can file and get the rights. So to understand that, you just don't need to go to law school. If you study history and civics properly, if you concentrate when your teachers in school, they're talking about civics, they're talking about constitution, then you can understand the concept of constitution, not the entire concept. Constitution is vast, it's a mother of all law, but you will get a rough idea. Being a layman, that rough idea helps you a lot. When you moved out in the society, you will understand how that law is getting connected and interrelated when you walk into the society. Tomorrow, if you do something wrong, a police apprehends that you are going to do something wrong. The police will stop you, prevent you from doing that. And then you will be able to understand how that law is connected in the society and how it is implemented when you are violating a particular law. And that law has a direct relation to the human science. And that human science, that what you will be reading, it's humanities. So these things coexist and correlates. So you have to understand, today, whatever law that you see in the society, it's not a product of a particular human being. It's the product of the society only. In parliament, the legislature forms a legislation, and that legislature who's making the law or who is creating the law is doing after studying a society or after seeing changes in the society. So there are various amendments. In fact, the constitution has been amended numerous times just to accommodate the constitution in the society. It's not that the society is getting accommodated according to the amendments and the atonements that is taking place in the constitution. It's the constitution that gets amended according to the changes in the society. And now, who is studying these changes and who is responsible to understand and analyze these changes? Is the humanist. The humanists are those people who analyzes these changes, and they provide the parliament with various papers and various discussions. And after various discussions, the diverse and vivid discussions, the law gets passed in the parliament. And there is another different reason how can a law be passed and all. Those are things that I don't want to get into right now. If I get into that, you people will get bored, because we started with 130. Already I see 88 people. So I just don't want to make you people bored. It's just that I understand, because I belong from the same group. So I understand how it both things. Okay, so now what do you need to do? Why you should study humanities? If I go and say you that no, you can do this, you can earn this, even earn this much, these are the branches, will not help you. You do one thing, you people, after this webinar ends, I think there are other speakers will help you to understand the various other branches. After this webinar ends, just give 15 minutes to yourself and go and Google and understand, do some research work, because people from 8, 9, 10 are mature enough to do research works. So go ahead, do some research, understand why we are here to convince you, why we are here to make you understand, to take up humanities, what it will help you and how it will help you to develop. And even if you take humanities, it is no less a subject. It's as important as science, as important as commerce, because everything in this society is related. Without one, you are paralyzed. So there is nothing that can, like this subject is less, this subject will not help you to be a successful person in life. There's nothing like that. The concept of good, bad, and better is about the perception. And perception is always illusion. There's no logical conclusion to a perception. A perception is always an easier way to debate a concept. That is what I will tell. So go ahead, do some research work, understand what humanities is, why humanities is necessary, and how humanities is related, and what you can get out of humanities. And that is what I want to tell. I think I have nothing much because.
Two questions, Akash, that I want to ask. What are the prominent educational institutions where we can take admission to study law?
Okay, thank you for this question, because I think most of the people will have this in mind. The first thing, that if you are appearing for CLAT, then you can have national law colleges or national law schools. National law schools, you have to, according to your rank, you will get those national law schools. There are probably 10 to 11 national school law schools right now. And if you are appearing for the CU entrance examinations, then there are 11 colleges, 4 government colleges. According to your rank, you will be placed. And then the rest of the colleges are private colleges. The first 4 colleges are those government colleges. I will name the government colleges. The one is Hajra, the Department of Law, then Jogesh Chandra Chaudhary Law College, South Calcutta Law College, and Surendranath Law College. And the rest are the private colleges. There are various other private colleges, and I will name them. Heritage has newly started a law school. And then I think Sambaja Law College is there, Josh Law College is there. There are many other law colleges, ma'am.
Yeah. And one last question, do we need a detailed learning of Indian Constitution for studying law?
Very much. Constitution is mother of all law. Without Constitution, there is nothing. Because if we read Article 13, I will ask most of the students to go and Google it. Article 13 tells that a law, when it comes in existence, should be inconsistent with the basic structure of the Constitution. If you can write down, there is a case law, there is a famous case law, Kesavananda Varthi versus State of Kerala. In that, you will understand what is the preamble, because most of the people are acquainted with the word preamble, I guess. Shubhankar Barma, do you know what is preamble?
Yes, sir. The preamble is the opening part of the Constitution that gives a brief overview of the content of the Constitution.
Oh, that's great, man. You know a lot. You know very in a very little manner, man. I'm very happy. I'm very impressed. That is great. Why don't you pursue law? That's great. That's great. I didn't expect that. It's very good. So that's preamble. So Keshavananda, if you go and if you are interested in it, just go and write down today. Then go and after this awareness ends, go and read that case law, Keshavananda Varthi versus State of Kerala. In that particular case, the Supreme Court was of the view that you cannot alter the basic structure and the framework of the Constitution. And when you read Article 13 in accordance to that judgment, you will get to see that Article 13 clearly states that whatever law that comes in existence, whatever act that comes in existence today, and you see as an act, should be consistent to the Constitution and the basic structure of the Constitution. And if it violates, and if it does not go in consistence with that, then such law will be termed as ultra virus, or in a layman's word, void. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Akash. Now we will take up one question from the audience. Over to Sarmishta ma'am. Sarmishta ma'am, are there any questions from the audience?
Yes. Thank you, Shomdata ma'am. One question I've got from Devanik Bhatto of 10D. He has asked that if anyone has not appeared for CLAT, can he pursue still, even after that, he can pursue a law course, even if he hadn't appeared for CLAT?
Yeah. See, if you're not interested in appearing for entrance examinations, you have after completing your graduation, like after completing your graduation for 3 years, there are universities which provide for 3 years law schools. There are 3 years law schools. Most probably Bardhaman University is there, Kalyani University is there. They offers you 3 years law courses. So you can, even if you don't want to appear for entrance examination, still you can be a lawyer after completing your graduation.
I think sir has raised his hand.
Sure, Mr. Ma'am, can I ask a question? Shomdata ma'am, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes. Sure.
Yes. Good afternoon, Akash. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too, son. Just a very quick question. One is, both are related. One is how comprehensive and how developed is cyber law in our country? And is it a part of a conventional law program? I mean, when you go to study law, do you also study cyber law? Just like you said, you have to study the Constitution, or there are other disciplines. I mean, is cyber law today a part of it?
So with this modern world, cyber law is kind of a headache.
Okay.
It's kind of a headache because the crimes, the nature of crime has changed and evolved.
Okay.
The crime has turned into a sophisticated version.
Okay.
People don't go and physically assault someone anymore. What they do, they get into the information. And the moment your information in your privacy is been intruded by someone, it's very difficult to get hold of that person because you don't know who is doing it.
Okay.
By the time you get acquainted with the name, they have robbed you for entirely. So this is the problem. So cyber law is there. The cyber law is getting stringent day by day. There are a lot of amendments that are taking place in cyber law. But the problem is that the mechanism to control cyber crimes are very weak, in comparison to the attack that has been taken place. It's very weak because we are not well equipped to fight the hackers and the criminal activities. We are not equipped to apprehend the criminal activities. We are apprehending that after it has caused a lot of damages. By the time when we react, it's very late. So cyber laws are there. Cyber laws, all laws can bring or try you after the particular offense has taken place. A law cannot apprehend, a law cannot anticipate a crime. A law is there to give you justice, but not to stop criminal activities or the mainstream of a mind. But the problem is we are not well equipped. We are not having enough agencies to fight the cyber laws or the cyber crimes. But there are laws, but those laws are changing every day. There are amendments and the amendments are according to the changes that are there in the crimes.
Okay. So can you study cyber law as a discipline in a law college?
You can. In a 5 years course, there is no that you can have to study cyber law. There is no such mandatory schemes. But the problem, you after completing, you can do LLM in masters in cyber law.
Okay.
There are masters that you can do in cyber law, and masters, when you're doing for masters, I think if somebody plans to do a master, then I will definitely ask him to go abroad. There are, I think Pennsylvania gives some excellent offer to people who are going and doing a masters in cyber law. There are Newcastle University. I'm planning to do it from there. I will be doing it. I will be doing my masters in cyber law only. Cyber law and international IPR, IPR and that international property rights and all.
Okay.
I am planning to do that.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you for shedding light on this. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Malika ma'am.
Yeah, Akash.
Yeah.
Just for science, there is a coaching center. Do you have anything as such a coaching center where this CLAT preparation is coaching is given for CLAT preparation? Because it's a very tough examination at national level. So even 105 rank is not good enough to get in one of the reputed law colleges, isn't it?
It's not good enough for NUJS even.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So how do the children prepare for this? And for that, any coaching centers are there where they can be groomed or coached to appear for this examination? Just I wanted information on that.
Ma'am, there are a lot of coaching centers.
Okay.
But I will suggest people to get a book. There's a book of universal publisher. That is till now, because I have used that book and I have prepared from reading that book only. So I will suggest everyone to go read that book, and after 3 months before the examination, if they join a particular classes or for preparing for CLAT, what happens, they take a lot of mock tests. So it will help them to prepare and understand how they will appear and how they will sit for the examination, what they need to do. But before that, if they join, they can join, but there is no hard and fast rule that you have to go ahead and take up a class for CLAT and all. But if you are preparing for CLAT, start doing it from class 11, because it's a very tough examination. Do it from class 11, because there are a lot of legal maxims, because in law, there are not just English, there are a lot of Latin words. So a lot of Latin words that we need to know. So entire paper, there are 30 to 40 marks. Questions comes on Latin maxims, legal maxims, and legal terms. So people need to know that, and to keep it in mind is very difficult. So if you are planning to become a lawyer and if you're planning to appear in CLAT, it's the best time after class 10, start preparing for it and get that book from Universal Publisher, CLAT Preparation, the name of the book. Go ahead, practice from it, because there are other things also that it's there. That's like English, maths, 70 marks maths comes, very basics math, science, legal aptitude, logical reasonings, and constitution. So these are the things that they need to prepare.
No, you said that after graduation, like if someone is doing BA and then they can do LLB, isn't it? So during that, do they again need to appear for direct admission for law college?
Now, if somebody wants to do it from NUJS, then he has to sit for a CLAT. Okay. And if somebody is, I don't just want to do a law, they can do it from other private universities also, like Amity, there is Kingston Law College. But if they want to do it from a government college, Bardhaman University, Kalyan University, they have this 3 years course. Still, that is there in existence.
Okay, so instead of 5 years, they have to spend 1 more year, but they can get rid of entrance difficulty, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just need to add one more
what
thing.
What are the things they test in that entrance exam? One you said is the Latin language, or because English language, or you can say. And other than that, what are the subjects the children has to prepare?
Maths.
So maths.
Maths. 70 marks maths comes. Okay. Like you get 70 marks for maths. Okay. Then there is logical reasoning. There is legal reasoning. Okay. Legal aptitudes. Latin words, Latin maxims. Then there comes geography, history, a bit of geography and history. And I don't think the syllabus has changed till now. So this is what there was there.
Corporate law is a paper in normal law which you are doing it, a BLL.
No, there is no such. There is nothing called corporate law.
Corporate law, then where do children acquire this corporate law? Because
masters.
For masters, only for masters.
The corporate law is a branch of company law. Partnership acts, IPRs, trademark patents, trade unions. These are all comes under corporate laws. So this is the corporate law. You can, if you want to do a master's in corporate law, then there is a subject with differentiate from other subjects that is called corporate law.
Okay. So if someone aiming for corporate law, which is a very lucrative profession, so then they have to do masters, LLB. That is
LLM.
LLM, they have to do LLM, and all specialization. Just we were saying about cyber crime law or corporate law. So all specializations only you get
comes under the masters.
Okay, LLM. Okay, thank you, Akash.
Yes, and if anybody wants to become a lawyer or pursuing a law, they have to keep one thing in mind: is that BCI, Bar Council of India, has made it mandatory that they have to do 21 weeks internship, which was not previously mandatory, but now it's mandatory that we have to complete 21 weeks as an intern. And after that, you have to work in a lower court for 3 years. After that, you have to come to the high court. Directly, you cannot just rush into the colorful side of the law subject. You have to spend time at the lower courts.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Akash. Our students have gathered a lot of information related to career option in law. Now I would request Boishakhi ma'am to carry forward the proceedings. Over to Akash.
Ma'am, I have to retire early because I have a meeting from 5 o'clock.
So Akash, best of luck.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you everyone. Thank you, teachers, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank you, Nilkan sir.
Great seeing you, Akash, and thanks a lot for your participation.
Yes, thank you, KK sir. I think he's not there.
Okay, we'll convey it to him.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Malika ma'am. Thank you, Basiti sir.
Thank
you, Akash. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
So thank you, Akash, and thank you, Prathit. Thank you, Shundaka ma'am. Akash and Prathit, I think they have already motivated all of us. Now, when I was a student of history in school, I often have to battle some questions. What kind of questions? Like, what are the options I'm having other than teaching in profession? Or how long will it take myself to establish? Now, I'm sure many of our students who love history and civics, they also have to face this type of question, or rather, I think class 10 students, they are here. So rather they're facing similar kinds of questions, right? So our next speaker, hopefully, will help all of us to answer these questions. Please welcome Ms. Rituparna Dutta. She has obtained her master's degree in history from University of Delhi and is currently pursuing Bachelor of Education from West Bengal University of Teachers Training Education, Planning and Administration. So without wasting much time, let's clear all our doubts from Rituparna ma'am. Rituparna ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So today I'm here, I will discuss about the scope social science and particularly history has. So a lot has been spoken already, why should one opt for history, like all opt for political science or social science disciplines, all are interdisciplinary subjects. So I won't shed much light on that and waste time. I will directly move on to what are the main career options one has with history, political science and other social sciences. So firstly, research. Doing a research in any subject is a very good option. One has a very prestigious job after doing a research. One can become a research scholar or a professor or do a post PhD after her or his or her research. So for that, for obtaining a research, one has to do a PhD from a recognized university, maybe it a state university or a central university or a foreign university. So one can do a research in history or political science or sociology or any other subjects. And for that, one has to do first graduation after +2 and then thereafter a master's degree. And after master's degree, one can directly sit for PhD. So now MPhil program, Master of Philosophy, this program has been deleted, has been omitted as per the new education policy which has been announced by our Prime Minister. So now one after masters only one can sit for PhD and complete his or her research work and become a researcher.
Okay, Rituparna ma'am, just I'm having one question. Like after masters, anyone can directly go for a research or they have to clear any kind of examinations? Is there any kind of examination to go for a research?
Yes, ma'am. So there are examination for no one can go for directly going and taking an admission. Even nowadays, going into a college needs an admission test. So for research, one has to seat for NET or SET examination, which is a national eligibility test or state eligibility test. NET is held twice a year, and SET is held once a year. SET examination is for like separate states, like West Bengal has its set, UP has its set, MP has its own set, and NET is for all, like all whole of India. Students can sit for NET examination. It's held twice a year. 2 papers are there. First paper based on general aptitude, reasoning. There are basic maths, basic GK, basic current affairs question. There is aptitude and teaching aptitude, research methodology related questions, because one has to be a researcher thereafter. And then the second paper is solely based on the subject one is opting for, like be it history or political science or sociology, one is sitting for. So NET is an examination where there is no negative marking, but the 2 compulsory papers has to be attended. Similar for SET, similar syllabus and similar set of questions.
Okay, ma'am. Now, ma'am, it's not possible for everyone to go for a research, though it's a very prestigious option that we are having. But it's not possible for everyone to go for a research. So, is there any other career path that is available for a student of humanities?
Yes, there are. So already, my other 2 speakers, like my fellow speakers, has already shed light on legal studies and other things. So I'll also highlight about journalism. Journalism nowadays is a very good option. Media person, working in a museum, working in archives, library work, be a librarian or library keeper. Then obviously teaching is there. Then there are advertisement agencies, working in an NGO or charity sector. These are all career paths one can opt to, other than like conventional teaching or professory.
Okay. Now, if anyone wants to pursue a career in journalism, like what are the areas one needs to focus on? And if you can name some of the institutions where a student can learn journalism.
Sure. So, firstly, the areas I will particularly highlight about two areas. One is English speaking skills, or how perfectly you know the language, be it Bengali or English. Like if you are working in a Bangla television or a Bangla newspaper, you have to be very good in Bangla. Or you are working in an English newspaper or English news channel, you have to be very perfect in your English, be it speaking, be it writing, be it in your grammar. And secondly, communication skills. Because if you're a news reporting sector, where you have to work in remote areas or in any areas and collecting news, it's not easy. It's not easy to convince people who will trust you and say about things. So for that, you need a great lot of communication skill. And here, for communication skill, you always need language. So language skill, language is something one has to master for getting for being a journalist. Be it working, if you're working in backside also, if you're an editor, you have to be you have to have a good knowledge in English. And if you are in the field, then also you need your language speaking skills.
Okay. Now, just one question that pop up in my mind. We are talking about research, we are talking about journalism, and I think in all those skills, one has to complete the graduation, then master's, and after that, they can go for a career option. Now, if we see a student from science background, if he clears the joint entrance examination and study in medical stream, then he or she can be a doctor within 5 years. Obviously not specialist, but a doctor in within 5 years. But is there any such scope for humanities subject where one does not have to go for a very long-term process? Is there any such option for a student obtaining history or political science, anything like that?
Yes, of course. So in this regard, I'll mention that for most high respected, high valued work in our country, one needs just a general graduation degree, not even an honors degree. Like the UPSC, like for becoming an IAS, the minimum requirement is to be a graduate. You have to be a graduate from a recognized university with 50% marks. Then only when considered for IAS examination and become an IAS if one is properly equipped with. And similar for the state level public service commissions, be it WBCS for West Bengal, UPPSC for UP government's public service commission.
Okay. Now, ma'am, when we are talking about IAS examination, civil service examination, why do we need to give special stress on history and civics? Is there any particular paper related to it?
Yes, in this regard, I have to describe the pattern of the examination. The exam are of three parts. Initially, the preliminary examination, then the mains examination, and lastly, the personality test, which is the interview. So, in the preliminary test itself, in case of WBCS, 50 questions comes from history. So, 1/4 out of 200 marks, 50 marks is based on history, and 13 to 15 questions come from polity. So 65 marks are covered from these two subjects. Now one can just imagine how much weight one should give to these two disciplines, particularly for this civil service examination.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Rituparna ma'am. I'm sure that our students, they are already very much enriched with all the information that you have provided. And I'm also sure that Shamisha ma'am is ready with all the questions from the student. So over to Shamisha ma'am.
Thank you, Vaishaki ma'am. Yes, I've got some questions from Shubhankar Verma. One question I would like to ask, that is, the field of social science is not very well known in our society. How do I understand what path I need to follow to have a career in social science?
So that is something I will say to everyone, that first question yourself what you like and what you know, what you are passionate about. If you like history or any of the social science, be it sociology, be it psychology, be it economics, whether though you have not read psychology yet, but be it political science like your civics portion or history or geography or English. English is though not a part of social science. English is something all have to read, So just find what you are passionate about, what you like most, and what you can continue throughout. Life is something where we learn every day. So if you don't like anything, how can you learn every day and complete like going on in life? So if you want to be happy in your life, pursue whatever you want to pursue. Focus on that, improve on that, and just you will rock.
Thank you. Thank you, Rituparna ma'am. Over to Boishakhi ma'am.
Now I request if Director Sir, Chairman Sir, if they are having any question to Rituparna ma'am. Okay. Moving on. Now, when I was in class 6, I came to know about the details of Egyptian civilization for the first time. At the time, I had dreamt in walking inside the pyramids, encountering the mysterious mummies. But unfortunately, at the time, I was unaware of the fact that there is a separate branch of study regarding this. Well, my dream to work with the mummies that was not fulfilled because of my ignorance. Today, we are having someone with us who is actually living her dreams. She has directed her studies towards those paths where she can touch, live, and achieve her dreams to work with ancient civilizations. She is pursuing her master's in ancient Indian history, culture, and archaeology from one of the best institutions of our country, Vishwabharati University. Please welcome Ms. Suvechha Ganguly and let us hear about her fascinating experiences. Suvechha ma'am, please.
Thank you, Boishakhi ma'am, for this generous introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Suvechha, and I'm currently studying archaeology in Vishwabharati, and I'm a master student. So, this has been a preconceived notion. I've seen people telling others and telling me, even questioning me, that why I chose history. So, it's society. For the past few years, society has designated history as a dead subject, as it deals with the past and the dead people. But I feel that this notion is extremely condemnable. History does not only reads past events, it preserves past events. You see, like history helps us in conserving our culture, and archaeology is a subfield of history, a scientific key to the past. So, because you see, Pompeii people did not know in the following day, in the 79 CE, in the following day, their city will be engulfed by a volcanic eruption. The entire city will be destroyed. So, in that conserving things, in conserving cultures, archaeology is the key to proceed into that process. So, archaeology is the study of culture and analysis of material cultures. And it's a subfield of anthropology. It complements history to reconstruct the past events in a more scientifically holistic and comprehensive manner. So those who want to have a bohemian life, archaeology is the best for them, because it gives them the opportunity to roam around and have a better career and pursue a better career at the same time. So in that regard, I would say that if somebody wants to pursue their career in archaeology, they need to start off their journey by pursuing their graduation first. So they can pursue their graduation from any field they feel comfortable in. So after that, they can pursue masters. But I personally recommend them to recommend everybody actually. Even my sister was asking me whether archaeology, she would opt for archaeology in her masters. So I told her that all right, after doing your +2, you can go for archaeology, but don't directly go into your masters in archaeology, pursuing it in your masters, because archaeology's domain is so vast and so in depth that when they go, like Akash only said that he did not have arts, humanities in his +2, so he actually suffered for at least for sometimes he had some troubles. So if you want to avoid those troubles, and if you want to understand the subject in a all inclusive manner, so then you should pursue a graduation in archaeology and ancient history and history. For pursuing archaeology in a graduation, there are not much colleges, but at least there are 2 to 3 colleges, that is Travancore University, there is BHU and Vishabharati itself.
Okay. Ma'am, as for my knowledge, please correct me if I'm wrong. Then, if anyone want to pursue any career in archaeology, they have to do a kind of internship, right? Yeah. So, if anyone wants to do any internship with Archaeological Survey of India, so what is the minimum qualification that one needs, and what is the process to apply over there, or any website, anything like that?
Yeah, see, for you cannot directly go to Archaeological Survey of India, because they need like they ask for experienced people, like mostly experienced, even experienced students who has at least past experience in the field of archaeology, in the practical field. So if you do some research work, if you if you indulge yourself into that criteria, all right, and then you can also pursue internships from other institutions like Aiza Mohali. Then there is MSU. Like this is the this is the primary stage. All right, this is the primary stage. But following this stage, you can definitely apply for Archaeological Survey of India for your internship. So they have they also have their own website where they post and publish their annual notices for calling for interns and calling for papers. So if you check all the details in their website only, you can get all the information.
Okay. Now, ma'am, obviously not everyone will be interested about archaeology. So is there any other scope of study related to history? Any other, like, in that way?
Yeah, definitely, I understand. So there are some interdisciplinary area-specific studies like numismatics. Numismatics is the study of ancient coins. Then there is epigraphy. Epigraphy is the study of ancient inscriptions, like Ashokan rock edict, as you say. Then there is museology. Museology is the study of how to preserve and conserve the ancient artifacts. All right, that the ancient man left behind. Then there is art history. Art history is a very dynamic subject, let me say, because art history deals with the the domain of visual arts, fine arts, any form of art that you can mention about. All right, and also there is this is everything.
Okay. So, ma'am, you're talking about numismatics. I hope my pronunciation is correct. Now, which are the institution where this numismatics they are appointed?
Actually,
like what work they have to do?
Yeah, after your post graduation, after the post graduation is completed, so they are recruited in several institutions. If they if they pursue their PhD, as Rituparna said earlier, that research is the most most respectable field you can go with, right? So after, even if they do not pursue research, there is no harm. So they can be recruited in the Banaras University. They have their own numismatics associations, and then they can go for museums. They can become a museum curator, and they can also work with Archaeological Survey of India. They can work in in university doing professorship or lecturership. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you please name some prominent institution within India and outside India abroad where one can study archaeology or museology, and what is the procedure of admission over there?
Yeah. So in India, there is Vishabharati, there is Banaras University, Calcutta University, Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, and then there is also Jamia Millia Islamia. They offer art history as a course, and for foreign countries, obviously Harvard is the best option, Oxford is the best option, the University of Pavia in Italy is the best option for archaeology and mythology.
Okay, now if anyone wants to study abroad with humanities subject, so do they need to give any kind of examination, like TOEFL examination in this way, or what are the subjects they need to prepare, or where they have to focus on for this entrance examination?
Yeah, definitely. So as you said that TOEFL, yeah, they have to appear for several entrance exams. They can appear for several entrance exams like TOEFL, there is TRE, there is IELTS. So these are also Erasmus Mundus they can appear for. All right. So for this, these are all actually skill evaluative entrances. Like you have to be good at like if you have to be good at your speaking, listening, and writing ability, like English writing ability. Let me mention about it. So they can do this, and they can prepare themselves only. They don't have to go anywhere. If they dedicate themselves, if they prepare very dedicatedly, they can crack the exams in the first attempt.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, Suvechha ma'am. I'm sure that students are going to use all this information to fulfill their future dreams. And I think by now our chat box is already full with questions from students. So now I would request Shamishna ma'am to put forth those questions for our panelists.
Yes, Boishaki ma'am, you are absolutely right. I've got n number of questions from the students, but maximum of the question has been answered by Suvechha ma'am. So I'm not going to go into all those details anymore. One question I'm having from my side. Can I ask one question?
Yeah, definitely.
Acha, okay. So the question which is coming to my mind, that I have heard that there is a subject in archaeology. One branch of archaeology is Egyptology. Ma'am, can you please tell me why Egypt is given so much weightage that a special or a different branch of archaeology has been, means Egyptology has been made, or as another branch of archaeology? Means why so much importance has been given to Egypt? Why not to India? Why not to China? Why not to Mesopotamia? Can you please tell me?
Yeah, sure. You see, Egypt is the cradle of a culture. All right. So, it has already been. There are a lot of findings we can have there. So, I mean, we are getting from there. So that is a main reason of it. And then there hieroglyphics. So hieroglyphics is a very interesting thing. And you know one thing, there are no vowels in it. All right, in the Egyptian script there is no vowels, so that is another thing. And then the findings like Tutankhamun's mask, all right, and then their dynastic reign in the 1300 BC in India. We cannot find any dynasty in that in that area of time, in that chronology. So that is a thing. Also the pyramids, not only not only they mastered the engineering techniques, but they also masters their medicines. So if you see the mummifying system, so it's a dynamic thing. They're using several kinds of natural organic chemicals to mummify a corpse, that so that it can live for 1,000 years. After 1,000 and 2,000, 4,000 years, we are getting so much so many number of mummies from these pyramids. And also the technique of making pyramids, how they actually how they carried those huge stone blocks, right? So these are all that makes Egyptology more interesting.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, over to Boishaki ma'am.
Thank you, Shamishta ma'am and Suvechha ma'am. Once again, thank you for all those informations. Now, here we come to an end to our webinar. But before that, I would request our respected chairman, sir, Mr. Kishan Kumar Kejriwal ji, to share his thoughts Sir, if you're present in a meeting. Shoma ma'am?
It's just 1 minute. Sir is not here.
You have to unmute him.
Sir is there.
His name? I can
Yeah, sir is there. Sir is there.
His video is off. I hope it is sir only, not someone else.
No. Sir, I have made you the co-host. Sir, you please share your feelings. Sir is not responding.
Then I think
I am driving, so I am unable to talk and discuss.
Okay, sir. Malika ma'am. Okay. Now I would request our respected principal ma'am, Mrs. Malika Mukherjee, to share her thoughts with us, with the students. Malika ma'am.
Yeah, speaking. I'm thinking what to say because I'm not prepared because it's something different. Yes, I like this session. Lot of information for particularly students who are interested, and also those who want to do law or they want to go for various public services or want to venture into the governance of country, or these things are really very bright. A lot of things children came to know, and I hope they will really apply for humanities if MCKV is offering, because we want the students to take this. Is a very challenging career, no doubt. It's not like, only science and commerce has a challenging career. This is also a very challenging career, and that is what have been highlighted by all the speakers. And I hope children really love it and will take this. Particularly if you want to be again a public figure, it's not necessary that you have to be a celebrity in the field of cinema. You can also be a celebrity even by taking humanities, by doing a lot of jobs in the public sectors and in the governance. Like today Sashi Sadur was known for his represented, then he became a politician. Okay, so like that you can go for any kind of celebration, be a celebrity, and this is really a very lucrative career, and I hope children will opt for it. And thanks to all the speakers for highlighting and motivating our students to opt this subject in future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would request our headmaster, sir, Vishwajit sir, to share his thoughts. Sir,
thank you, Boishaki ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
First of all, congratulations to offer this wonderful session. I personally like it because, I being a student of humanities, there has always been a stigma, as Prathit was talking about, that if you cannot be successful in your studies, if you cannot be a doctor, if you cannot be an engineer, the last option is you join humanities. But then that is changing, and I'm happy that Prathit is actually creating that, atmosphere for the generations to come, and he is being a very, very young, aspirant of this humanities. Really is doing good job. And not only that, I had lot of, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about this law and this archaeologies, and definitely about this political science. I came to know a lot of things. Thank you very much. Because, we have always thought that only medical and engineers are the only profession that the people can actually go for. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again. And I have a suggestion to all the young children. Please make sure that you learn and also apply this knowledge. Now there are a lot of roads open for everybody, not only this specified and stigmatized, the professions that we have. No, everybody can go for all these sort of professions. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much, sir.
I always say to the children as well as parents, It is not the subject that makes your career success. It is you that makes a subject, success career. So whether it is humanity, commerce, science does not matter. If you like that subject, go ahead with it without thinking what people will say for it. Why you have taken humanity? Don't think in that way. If you want, you can become a better, successful career. Then if you are not liking that particular subject and opting for it, because I have seen many students taking science but not doing well in life.
Yes,
Whereas
absolutely.
They have not opted science, but they are doing well in their life. That is what I always say to the children, and this will be a very good presentation for them, those who really don't like to have science in career. So it is a very good opening. They are getting a better idea how to go for it. Okay, thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Head of the Department of History, Ms. Shoma Mitra, ma'am, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Vaishakhi. Thank you, everyone. It's already late, so I'll try my best to do as quick as I can, but I should thank everyone who has helped us in our work. Good evening to one and all present here. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to this memorable occasion. Without Almighty's blessing, nothing works. So thank you, God, for making today's webinar a success. Firstly, I would like to thank our chairman, Sir Kishan Kumar Kejriwal ji, who has rendered us with all possible support towards organizing this event, because without his consent, this program would not have been possible. Next, I thank our director, Sir, Mr. Neelkant Gupta, for always encouraging and inspiring us. I also extend my gratitude to our principal ma'am, Mrs. Malika Mukherjee, for being our constant mentor and guide. Thank you, Headmaster Sir, Mr. Vishwajit Majumdar, for always being a support system in our endeavors. Thank you to all the academic coordinators, Sanchita Sarkar ma'am, Gargi ma'am, Shangumitra ma'am, Deepjani ma'am, for your constant cooperation. And a special thank you to our activity coordinators, Rimita De ma'am and Amrita Shengupta ma'am, for their constant assistance and support. I would also like to thank Ajay sir for always advising us with his technical knowledge. All the good hearts who worked behind the screen, our technical team, also deserve special mention. Choyan Dugar of 11C, Harsh Kanoria of 11B, Gaurav Chandak of 11B. Thank you, dear boys. Dear student audience, thank you for being a patient listener. Hope you have a pen down all the important points for your future reference. Thank you, colleagues, as well. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists. Your research work deserves special mention. Hope it will be an eye-opener to many of our students. And last but not the least, our entire history department teachers. In this webinar, you have shown that we are there for one another to tackle every crisis situation. Thank you, team. Once again, I would like to say thank you, MCKV Leading Lights, who have helped us in making this webinar a resounding success. So now, with everyone's permission, we are ending Zoom Meet as well.